just sat here reminiscing. Chris Thorman, aka Spuggy, Biker Grove, biter,
Grove, yeah.
Oh, Jeff Bennett, you must get that a lot because you are quite unique in a Geordie who's working in rugby league and has done really well at the sport.
It is a unique position I'm in. I was one of the only Geordie players, and I'm definitely the only Geordie coach. I think, especially in the Super League. But mate, it's only when I see you that anybody ever brings it up, and it seems to be that we're on television every time it gets brought up. So no, it's I'm in a privileged position to play and coach in the Super League, and to be a Geordie is all that extra bit special, isn't it?
Well, it's a massive part of our game now, Newcastle, because it's in the Magic Weekend.
Yep.
It's such a key feature in our calendar. It must make you quite proud to go up there and see family, see friends.
It does.
Do you get hammered for tickets?
I do get hammered for tickets. I mean, my parents have always followed my career, and that's no different to when since I've become a coach, and they take a lot of pride in it. And I think the family take a lot of pride in the fact that they get to see their son. Although I'm not playing on the hallowed turf, I'm doing the next best thing, and it's definitely something on the calendar that I circle nice and early on, and chatting to Rick Stone and making him aware of the significance of the Magic Weekend. It's not like any other sport do, is it? It's pretty innovative, and it's pretty unique in terms of the experience and managing to watch all the Super League games on the same pitch over the course of a weekend. And I think it's proved to be a really successful concept. And I've been trying to educate Rick Stone on some of the special things that happen over the course of a Magic Weekend, and I think especially with it being at Newcastle, it's even more special.
I don't think anybody really understands how much of a mecca St James's Park is to Geordies, and how important that piece of grass is to Newcastle United fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's life, isn't it?
It is life. It is life. people always ask me why rugby league first, but it was always football first, and it probably always will be football. I think that you cut any Geordie in half, and they'll bleed black and white. And I don't know. There's so much history and heritage. I go back to watching them train. I couldn't afford a season ticket, and I go there now and again with my brothers to St James's, but it was getting the train to Durham to go and watch them train was a big thing for me. And I remember, Faustino Asprilla, Philippe Albert, Peter Beardsley, David Ginola, those sorts of people. They were our heroes growing up. And
I want to say, who was your hero?
I've named a few there. I mean, obviously Alan Shearer. Alan Shearer was the big one, and I remember going to St James's and hanging off a lamppost when he was signed for 15 million back in the mid 90s for Newcastle, and that was always a big thing. So I'm a big football fan. I mean, rugby league is very much my life now, and when you're a coach, you're living and you're breathing it. But I've always got an eye on the football results in Newcastle, and it'd be great to see them back in the Premier League. And it'd be great to go back in the next couple of months for Magic too.
I've got to ask you about Magic just really quickly. We're going to talk about Huddersfield, but what does it mean to the Newcastle people to have such a great sporting event right in the heart? I love it because you're literally in the heart of the city, and you walk in to any bar, any restaurant. It is so unique.
Yeah, I mean, I played at all the other venues for the Magic Weekend, and I thought Cardiff was great, Murrayfield was great. I coached at Man City, and they were all really special in their own way. But I mean, I am biased, but I generally think the general consensus would be that the Newcastle and St James's Park is the best by a mile. And that's mainly because of two things. I think the Geordie people and their acceptance and the love of sport, and I firmly believe that if Newcastle Thunder could be, invest a little bit more in the development and in the first team squad itself, they'd be really successful. I do, because I think the rugby league people or the North East people would really buy into that. And I think secondly, the fact that the stadium is situated smack bang in the middle of the city centre, and you've got pubs and restaurants and all sorts of entertainment around the place. It just makes it such a successful venue for it.
I think 3 years in now, I think you should persist with it in Newcastle, because I think what we're seeing now more and more is local fans looking forward to the fixture, and that's the key to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got plenty of family and plenty of friends that I had no idea were sort of had any sort of interest in rugby league and in Super League particularly, and I get messages from people that I haven't seen for months and months, and they'll message me for tickets, and they'll message me on social media, and I'll be like, I had no idea you liked it, and they're like, we love it. We went to the first one, and we're going to come to them every year after. But the other thing that you have to consider is, we're trying to spread the gospel, and we're trying to spread the love of rugby league, aren't we, around the United Kingdom? And as much as I'd love it to stay in Newcastle, I guess we have to always look to other venues too. But long may it continue at Newcastle from a selfish and a biased point of view, though.
Mate, talking about Huddersfield, obviously, how many years have you been here now? You're a fixture.
Oh, I've been here a few years off and on now. I had 2 spells as a player, and then obviously this is my first full-time coaching gig. In 2012, I came back to coach the academy.
Yeah.
Coached the academy for 3 years, and now I'm obviously first team assistant and assistant to Rick Stone. And it's part of my life. It's I couldn't think of being anywhere else just yet. I'm still very much learning as a coach, but I feel like I've evolved, and I've learned a fair bit over the last few years, and how to do stuff right and how to do stuff wrong too. And it's certainly always going to have a place in my heart, and I'm working really hard for the club now, and hopefully the results and our performances can continue to improve, and we can finally bring a little bit of success to the town.
Mate, you remind me a little bit of Gareth Southgate, because he did his apprenticeship almost at the 21s, and he's gone up obviously through Sam Allardyce's his stupidity. He's got the full-time gig, but what that's allowing now is the real understanding, and we'll see it as we go towards the qualifiers and etc., that the 21s, the young players coming through, trust him. He understands his philosophy, and he understands them as players, and that, I'm thinking, is going to be just like you with the Huddersfield Giants team.
I mean, I think, Alex, the way I've gone, I've had a really good grounding and I've had a really good sort of upbringing through coaches. I've played under some really good coaches, and Brian Smith, Tony Smith.
Who's the best you've played under?
Oh wow, John Sharp was great for me for a period of time. I was John's captain for 4 years at the Giants, and we had a bit of success, even though it was probably unexpected at the time. I think the best coach I've had was Tony Smith, though.
Yeah,
Tony's really innovative, and he always thought outside the box, and I think that suited me as a player. We were always trying to think about which way is the game going, and in current trends and stuff, and you're constantly thinking of an evolution of how, especially offensively, of how the game's going, and Tony was the best I had in that regard. But getting back to me as a coach, I think that people forget that I coached York City Knights for a couple of years too.
Yeah.
I was a player coach.
Did you have Austin there, or did you miss out on that?
I missed out, unfortunately, at Austin, but I do know that the Buchanans and the Broughtons really well, and I've got a lot of time for all those boys actually. But coaching at the club, because I've spent 3-4 years coaching the academy, I know all the boys, and I like to think we've got a mutual respect for each other, and I like to think that I can get the best out of them too. So, we'll see. Hopefully, time will tell, and this year, hopefully, we can go a little bit better than we did last year.
What I'm really enjoying seeing is the amount of the young lads you've got in there with the first team, all training together. Give us a few names of young players who we need to be on the lookout at Huddersfield, the future stars, maybe this year or maybe next year, who are going to come through and be stars.
Yeah, there's a couple that are kind of doing it already, in Cruz Leeming particularly. He's been our starting 9 this year, and Darnell McIntosh has just shown himself to be a real quality player at fullback. But we've also got people like Sam Wood, who's been a really good utility option for us over the last sort of 18 months. Sam's a big, tall, probably going to be a back row, but plays a bit of centre. We've got a couple of.
Did he play in the 19s last year?
He did play in the 19s last year.
I came to watch a game, really windy, flowing all over.
Yes.
They're a big, tall centre.
Yes.
Is that the same kid?
Great player. That's Sam, mate. Sam's got. He's quite mature beyond his years, to be honest, and he'll play in a fair few positions. I've asked him at the academy to play 6 and 13 and back row and centre. He's played a few games at Super League at centre, and he scored 2 tries against Salford a couple of weeks ago, and he's a really good option for as a utility player for us at the minute. We've got people like Matty English, who toured Australia with England Academy and was pretty much the best forward out of those two teams. So, you know, Matty going forward is going to be a real prospect. We've got people like Isaac Farrell, who's, you know, he's a young English halfback, and as we all know, that, you know, those good young English halfbacks don't grow on trees. You know, we've been persistent with Isaac, and I've seen Isaac, you know, evolve as a player and mature as a player, and he's just still got a way to go. But you know, there's a few names there, and I could sit here and name them all day. Like I am probably a little bit biased, Alex, because I've spent a fair bit of time, and I've got to mention Luke Robinson. Robbo's doing a great job with them now as well, with Andy Kelly as well, and you know, I like to think that we've both contributed a fair bit to you know, the squad and the first team squad, particularly how it looks now, and particularly how many young, you know, Huddersfield based players that we have in it now.
Mate, last question. Take us forward to this week. Leeds have struggled against Huddersfield in recent times.
Yep.
What are you expecting from a resurgent Leeds Rhinos team?
I think you're right in saying resurgent. That's the word. They look like they're back playing with a bit of swagger and a bit of confidence,
100%.
and I think they've got threats all over the field. You know, I probably mentioned Callum Watkins first, because he's one of my favourite players to watch. I've got a lot of time for Callum. I think he's such an athlete. You have to respect him. Although I hate coaching against him, because he's quite unpredictable too. He'll end up anywhere on the field, and he's such a good ball playing threat. And as is Brett Ferris too. Brett's came back last week and
looking as big as a house.
He's a big boy, yeah. He's a big, powerful man. He's someone that we need to respect when he has the ball, because he's
going to want to get one over you.
He certainly is. You know, he's still got a fair few ties with the club as well. So I know Brett will want to put in a good performance. I mean, the halves as well. Danny Maggs is still going. You know, he's their general right now, without Kevin, without Rob playing not quite as many minutes, and complement him with Joel Moon as a bit more of a running threat at 6, you know. So I think they've got threats all over the field. Saying that, you know, we're used to really entertaining games. We're probably used to winning more than we lose over the last few years, but I don't think it counts for very much. I think what does count for a fair bit is our performance against Wigan was much improved, and a little bit unfortunate and a little bit disappointed we didn't come away with a win. But that performance came from us very much focusing on what we need to do well, and as much as we need to respect Leeds and kind of review their performances over the last couple of weeks, even more so we have to focus on what we do well and what we'll continue to do well.
Spuggy, best of luck, mate. It's lovely to catch up with you. I'll be there on Friday cheering both teams on. May the best team win, mate. Top man.
We aye, man.
Whether it's power station, factory or stadium, covering installation or maintenance, Spec, the specialist power contractor to industry.